Day, Baba friends. We're welcoming you today to a celebration of the life of Adele Wolkin. Baba, the other half of Philadele. Baba's dear Adele, who many of us knew, um, and she was so involved in everything. If you were on a committee or she she was a worker right until the end, and encouraged all of us to be workers too. Um, so I'm hoping we'll have some good stories today. Uh, uh, it is April 13th, Sunday, 2025. All right, so Avatar, Meher Baba. Yeah. First off, Karen. Well, Karen, what the producer of bios for. Oh, we're really indebted to you, Karen. You got the history in your hands of many of Baba's followers and Mandali lovers, uh, many. So anyway, she's going to give us Adele's bio today. Mm.
Say Baba, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Oh, good. Say Baba. Adele was born on April 9th, 1918 in Brooklyn, New York. Her father was a pharmacist. Later, they lived in Harlem. He was called Doc because the people were too poor to see a doctor. She had three brothers. One was a single birth, and then the other brothers, the two brothers, were twins. And as the children grew up, they all worked in the drugstore. When it was time for the boys to go to college, the family moved to Iowa. Her mother opened a boarding house there. They had relatives in Iowa, and tuition was cheaper. The boys became very impressive doctors. I think one was a radiologist, one was an orthopedist, one was a brain surgeon. And in 1935, Adele, women in those days didn't necessarily attend college, but she received her BA in liberal arts from the College University in Iowa. During World War II, Adele was living in New York. She was working on her master's thesis in philosophy at Columbia University. She met Phyllis Frederick through a classmate. Adele was so impressed with Phyllis's comments on philosophy, they became close friends. Through Phyllis, Adele was introduced to Eastern spirituality. Near Christmas of 1943, when Adele was 25 years old, she accompanied Phyllis to a talk about Meher Baba at the home of Princess Norina Machiavelli, Elizabeth Patterson, and Countess Nadine Tolstoy. Of the meeting, Adele said, "I was overtaken by a sense of unusual comfort and upliftment." Some weeks later, Norina invited Phyllis and Adele to live with them in New York to prepare for Meher Baba's visit. They lived with them from the end of 1943 until Norina and Elizabeth returned to India in 1947. When Nadine and Norina became ill, Baba asked Adele to care for them. She cared for Nadine until Nadine passed away. That experience gave Adele the idea and impetus to become a nurse. Adele distributed Norina's messages to as many as she could. After Norina and Elizabeth left to return to India, Phyllis and Adele moved to Spanish Harlem. There, Adele worked at a settlement house and also at a hospital in private duty. They received letters and directives from Baba through the Winterfelds, Fred and Ella about keeping silence, fasting, and repeating the beloved God prayer. Adele felt that even though Baba wasn't in their company, he was still with them. Adele's first actual glimpse of Baba was early in the morning of April 20th, 1952. She and Phyllis being told not to meet Baba and go to him when they arrived, hid behind a pillar, and they thought that just wasn't the same thing. At the third balcony of Penn Central train station in New York. Even though Baba said not for anyone for private interviews, they thought this would be great to have a private glimpse of him. But at the time Adele and Filis were peeking at Baba, he actually spelled out Filadele on his alphabet board. In early May 1952, they drove to Myrtle Beach with Fred and Ella Winterfeld. They spent a week on the center as Baba's guests. At 10:30 in the morning on May 10th, Adele had her first interview with Baba. She and Filis asked him what they could do for him. He replied, "Love him." Adele never finished her master's thesis. Baba said, "Don't worry, I am your master's thesis."
Mhm.
One day, as they were about to enter Baba's house with him, looking at them, he held up two fingers and indicated his heart. Baba said, "You have both been with me for ages. Nothing matters but love for God. Nothing is real but God." One evening, they were there with Baba and the women Mandali. Baba asked them to guess a number from 1 to 22. Adele correctly guessed 11. And interestingly, it was that many days until the car accident in Prague, Oklahoma. On open day at the Maher Spiritual Center, over 700 people came to the barn to see Baba. Filadele's job was to see that after leaving the barn, no one wandered into the woods and that they stayed on the path, because they felt the people after meeting Baba would be so spaced out that they would need that direction. Baba introduced Adele in 1952 to Dr. Goher, and they became lifelong friends, with Adele sending many medical supplies. And also, she was the one that suggested that Dr. Harry Kenmore should go to India to help alleviate some of Baba's suffering from the accidents. After the accident in Prague, Oklahoma, Dr. Goher asked Adele if her two brothers, the radiologist and the orthopedist, could look at Baba's x-rays. Later, Dr. Goher sent letters to Adele asking her to research medicines, get certain instruments, send medical samples to ease the pain of Baba's hip injury. Through the years, Dr. Goher sent many requests of Adele. And I remember Adele asking some of us to bring medicines and other supplies for Dr. Goher after the passing of Meher Baba. Adele also cared for Mildred Kyle, who had heard about Baba from Nadine Tolstoy. In 1955, Adele became an editorial assistant for The Awakener, a journal devoted to Baba, edited by Phyllis Fredericks. She participated in Baba's 1956 and 1958 visits to the Meher Center. When Baba came in 1956 and arrived in New York, Adele attended the dinner at Longchamp's restaurant. That same year, she attended Queens College in Queens, New York, which was associated with Queens General Hospital, and she received her nursing degree. Becoming a chiropractic patient of Dr. Harry Kenmore, she suggested Dr. Kenmore, who met Baba in 1956, should go to India to help with his hip joint pains. After seeing Baba in 1958 at the Meher Center, Adele yearned to go to India. She became a nurse in a hospital after the East-West Gathering. She was living there. She attended the East-West Gathering in Pune at Guru Prasad in 1962. Afterward, that's when Baba asked her to stay in India. For a number of months, she worked in the Wadia maternity home in Parel near Bombay. On January 17th, 1963, Adi picked her up with Carrie and Joseph Harb and brought them to Mirazad. She met with Baba that day, and during the meeting, Baba told her to return to America. He said, "You will serve my purpose best by working there." He permitted her to visit Mirazad once a year, and she took a train to Bombay and sailed from India January 27th, 1963, back to the US. When she came back, she settled in New York and resumed attending the Monday night meetings at the Winterfelds. In 1965, she married George McEwen, and they stayed married until 1975. When the Winterfelds moved to Myrtle Beach, she helped found Meher Baba House in New York with Bruce Hoffman. When Rick Chapman returned from India, she arranged speaking arrangements for him on college campuses, TV and radio stations, and doing things no one had ever done before all over New York. During this time, Adele continued to distribute many library books and literature to celebrities and to anyone who showed an interest in them. She became a Montessori teacher, was licensed in New York, received her certification from the Little Flowers Montessori International in New York. She received another certification from the American Montessori Society in Teaneck, New Jersey. She lived in Myrtle Beach for many years. She was there in the 1970s when I lived in Myrtle Beach. She worked as a Montessori school teacher in Uda Bowman's Montessori School, but in 1977, she left Myrtle Beach and went to reside near Filis, who had moved to Los Angeles and was working with Myrtle. She moved to Redondo Beach. She was a board member and very active member of the Avatar Meher Baba Center of Southern California. Judy Mangold met her in 1998 at the LA Sahavas. Judy was beginning her career as a caregiver and later received a CNA license. Judy used to visit Adele when Judy lived in Ojai. At one point, Adele's rental increase on her apartment, little house in Redondo Beach became prohibitive for her. So in 2008, she returned to live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where she became an integral member of the Meher Spiritual Center. For many years, Judy Mangold, who had befriended her, had moved also to Myrtle Beach, and she cared for Adele lovingly for many years. In the fall of 2015, Adele's health declined rapidly. She was admitted to Mercy Care Hospice, and she passed away on December 21st, 2015. Jai Baba.
I would just say that she passed away in Judy and Jeff Stern's home. They had a home out in the country. So for those last months, I don't know whether it amounted to a year, she was living with Judy and Jeff.
Yeah, she was the what do you call it? She pulled them together, Judy and Jeff. What do they call that? The matchmaker.
Is that right?
Was she ever a matchmaker?
So she ended up living with them, the way
I'm
her life
writing all this
goes.
down.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, you know, Jeff was not inclined, but he would come over and oh boy, she just worked at it all the time. And then I'm not sure, you'd have to ask them how it
Yeah,
finally, but it was a very sweet marriage at the Briarcliff West community building. And Mayor Juan Mehta officiated the service.
Wow. Norina, oh my gosh.
yeah, right.
Oh, that's great. A little bit of information. Wow. But Adele was a caregiver all of her life. How perfect that she, to the end, she was cared for by a friend, by a Baba lover. Wow. Thanks, Jonathan, for that.
Mhm.
Karen, thank you so much for your.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this.
We have next. I have Ruthie's lovely little slideshow of photos of Adele. Um, and, but funny, this I discovered this morning that Ruthie had created it with Bobby Bernstein's song for Adele as background music, and I thought, well, we can't upstage Bobby. So anyway, we'll have this slideshow as a without the sound, and then Bobby's going to sing that song for Adele.
Wanted to say that Phyllis Frederick would, she spoke of Adele as when she was young as being drop dead gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess we'll see some of those photos. Yeah. All right. Wish me luck. And let's see. Here we go. Okay. And no sound this time. Um,
We should go to full. We should go to-
yeah, I'll go to Serena. Well, yeah. Whoop. No, wait. Oh, no, wait. Okay. Yeah, I'll just. All right. Yeah.
Oh.
Mm. On Saturday with Monzil the dog. If you know anything about these photos, please just speak up.
That's nice.
Wasn't he a good sport, Fauci?
Does anyone know who that girl was on the right of
Yeah,
Karina Page.
Karina Page, yeah.
who?
Karina Page.
Major caregiver.
Ah,
She had such eyes. Were they blue or green?
Yeah.
They
So beautiful.
the bunny here.
were full of life.
That's it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff, and she had Eldora.
Oh, this looks like a
What is that?
game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
City of Jeff. Yeah.
Jeff and Judy with.
Really?
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So, yeah. Now, Bobby, I just didn't want to upstage you with
Oh,
yourself.
no, that's okay. I mean, yeah, I played this song the other day at the Southeast Gathering, and my introduction was longer than the song to Adele because there was so much. I just learned a lot today from Karen's beautiful introduction. Adele was amazing. So anyway, I wrote this song, I think Judy asked me to write a song about Adele. So Adele was still alive and she heard this song a few times. And of course it was in the present tense at the time. But anyway, so this is Baba's Adele. Baba's Adele. Under the spell of the God man, such great stories to tell. For she did serve him so well. Scholar, teacher, nurse, and great friend, sharing his love to the end. Baba's Adele. Wasn't she swell? Baba's Adele. In the sweet care of Lord Mayor, floating on air, with divine grace very rare, for she made him a home in her heart, from the beloved never ever to part. Baba's Adele. Wasn't she swell? There is nothing else that compares to a life lived only for Mayhair. In New York, India, Myrtle Beach, and LA, Adele worked for Mayhair Baba night and day. For she made him a home in her heart, from the beloved never ever to part. Baba's Adele. Wasn't she swell? Baba's Adele. Mayor Baba's Adele. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Oh, what a great song. Thank you so much. Oh, I gotta do this here. Oh, okay. Well, now it's time to share stories. I can say a little bit. I got to know at LA Sahabas, I got to know Adele because I did childcare. She loved it when you were working for its service was her big deal. And and she recognized it and made a point to, pat you on the shoulder and say, what a good job for Baba you were doing. Uh, we became good buddies over this. Funny, she would at Sahara, she kind of flit isn't the right word, but she was just always busy, always between this and that and what was going on, and she'd come by and she'd say, "Oh, I'm going to help you. I want to help out here." And and then she'd be off. It was she was I I got it that she her intent was good, but she just was in too much demand, too many places. Um, Ron, I'll come back with more. But Ron, what do you have?
Well, I thought I would just say how I connected up with Adele, which lasted for decades. Um, uh, she, well, I just want to say one thing I want to say is Adele was a perfect example for me of how the whole generational uh, concept kind of went out the window when I came to Baba, and I was making friends with these people that were my parents' age or my grandparents' age, on a level of brother and sister in Baba, and she she was perfect for that. I mean, probably she was the one I maybe felt closest to. I mean, there were other people like my grandmother's age in Ann Forbes, but it was just a special time when that was really happening. I think it's coming back. I'm hoping it does because that opens up so much more to us as far as sharing. But so I met Adele when I was in New York in 1972. I decided to go to New York and spend, I don't know, maybe a month or two. Um, and so at one point, I went to Greenwich Village and walked into Baba House. Uh, I think I was just by myself. I don't think I knew any Baba lovers in New York at that time. Um, I was very new to Baba actually. Um, but so I walked in, I just sat down, and Adele came right up and sat right next to me and just introduced herself. And uh, it was wonderful because at that time, starting a conversation with another person was kind of, well, I was extremely shy about doing those kinds of things. So at that time, I relied on other people, and Baba definitely sent the right person in Adele. Um, and fortunately, I got to be with Adele in various Sahavas programs. Uh, she would be at the LA Sahavas that I went to every year, from at the, what was the name of that place? Pilgrim Pines. I would see her and connect with her at some point. And then at Mayorana, she used to come. She used to get catch a ride to Mayorana and spend time there. And I don't know. It's just a wonderful companionship that I had. She was just very important to me in that respect. And maybe I'll think of something more specific later. But I did want to say this one thing. Uh, my wife Lisa was also had a connection with Adele, and one thing she heard from Adele that really struck her was that when Adele was living in New York in the 50s, um, she used to go to a hospital uh, where there were premature babies, and she would hold them and say Baba's name as she held them. This is something she told Lisa, and as it turns out, Lisa was a premature baby in 1955, and she was thinking that, you know, that may have been her introduction to Baba very early on. But
Wow.
who knows? It's one of those things where could have been. Nice way to think about it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Anyhow,
thanks, Ron.
thanks a lot for having this.
You reminded me, she's often had a pet, a project, a pet somebody, often a younger person who needed help in some way. She seemed to kind of zero in on people who needed extra, and she kind of put you together with or tell you about that person, or she seemed to she I think she had, and I'm remembering, maybe somebody who knew her better. There was and these people weren't necessarily Baba lovers, but uh, she just what she just found people who and connected with them who needed some extra extra love. Um, um, Anybody else? Oh, awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll jump. Uh, I stayed with well, lucky me. I went down to LA and gave a talk at the center on Oceano, so I needed a place. She put me up for one night, and what an atmosphere! And she had a little teeny cottage in Redondo Beach. Whoa, it was so thick in her little place that you felt you could almost it was almost tangible. I mean, to her, the the amount of Baba material and just it was just an amazing experience to stay there that night. So that okay,
I
that
want I wanted to share a personal story. I thought Adele did me a great favor. I was raised very Catholic, and almost to the point of that my mother was like a pope, and she could have been a pope. So anyway, Adele agreed to go with me to meet my mother on Mother's Day. And when we reached the house, I could have cut fear with a knife. I mean, because I told her I was bringing a friend, and she knew the friend was connected with Phyllis, who she never met, Phyllis Frederick, but she met her Phyllis heard her voice over the phone, but she knew who was involved with Baba. So anyway, we get there and we get inside, and my father was not a very social person, and so he was trying to chat with Adele, and my mother started cleaning cupboards out in the kitchen that in my whole time being her child and afterwards, she never cleaned cupboards, you know. And so I thought, why she's just ignoring Adele? And all of a sudden, Adele turns to me and she says, we're sitting alone with my father, and she says, let's go, Rosalie, let's go. And so I said, well, let me say goodbye to my mother. So I go out in the kitchen, and Baba had turned the key. She's fixing lunch for Adele. And I actually never saw her serve a guest unless they were in a religious habit, like a nun, a Catholic nun, priest, brother. And it was jaw-dropping. And she says, oh, she'll stay for lunch, won't she? I says, well, maybe if you ask her. And she says she likes herbal tea, doesn't she? And I thought, my gosh, she's tuned in all of a sudden. So we're having lunch, this unexpected lunch, after this total shunning. And I felt that Adele, her holding Baba, she was like Baba's mother superior. And my mother tuned into, this is an important spiritual person, you know. And so we're sitting at a small table, and at a certain point, my father finished lunch, and he has plants and different things he does. And I'm sitting in between Adele on one side. And
so let's see.
The hell is that?
Can you all mute? And those of you who aren't muted, I cannot see. Okay, let's see if we got it.
well, I'm not muted, but
Oh, well, there you.
anyway, so I'm sitting there, and Adele says to my mother, she says, you know, Frances, Rosalie's an important member in our group. And I was so cowed that my nose was almost on my empty plate. Fortunately, I had already eaten. And my mother didn't say a word. And my mother can be quite reactive. So the lunch ended. Adele thanked her and left. But Adele wrote a letter, and I'll share it because I think it's important for us to know our contact with Baba, our love for Baba, to whatever degree helps our family. You know, Baba has said that, and it was approved. Adele wrote a letter thanking my mother, and she says, you're very fortunate to have Rosalie for a daughter. She has met the pure people of this earth. So she said my mother never shared the letter, but of course Adele shared it with me, and it was such a treasure because Adele for me could push my buttons like nobody. And as I understood, when I'd ask people, did you ever get your button pushed by Adele? They said, oh, yeah. I mean, the mildest person said, oh, yeah. So she was kind of a Baba trigger. You know, you couldn't be neutral around Adele. She was not a neutral person. And this is another funny thing. Adele and Phyllis, Phyllis was extraordinarily psychic. They went to see a psychic together. And Adele was told that she had been a famous military general. And
In China, did you say?
General, a famous military general. So anyway, I had this incident with Adele, and Jonathan was in this too. We had been invited. I had been invited to lunch, and at her house, and I came with Laura Crabtree. You know, if anyone knows her, and I prepared for this wonderful lunch. I didn't eat much before because I thought this is a wonderful thing. You know, there was no lunch there. There was a bowl of, I think they were supposed to be organic or health Cheetos or something, and they were dehydrated, and so it kind of put me on edge, you know. And the phone kept ringing, and she kept inviting people to this lunch, and then she wanted me to set the table. So I'm setting the table, and all of a sudden I see her across the room, and she's making this angry motion. And I said, Adele, I says, I don't do things by Emily Post. I put the same tool on one side of the table as the other for each person. And as it went on, and the phone keeps ringing, and I stood next to her at one point, and I almost felt like I was with a general, like a military, and I wasn't comfortable in being even next to her. So I slipped out of the room, because every time the phone would ring, she grabbed, I'll get it. It's for me. I slipped to the bedroom, and I called Jenny Zenner, my dear friend from Myrtle Beach Center. And I said, Jenny, I have to leave. She knew I was having this wonderful lunch. She says, oh, it can't be that bad. I said, Jenny, I have to leave. She says, okay, I'll come and get you. So I slipped out of the house, and I went and sat under a tree waiting for Jenny to come. And along comes Jonathan and Adele and Laura Crabtree. They're holding her hands and she's coming with them. And she goes, "Oh, what? Why did you leave?" And I said, "Adele, when you're like an electrical wire when you're like that." And I said, I couldn't be around you. And then she can't hear, so Jonathan has to repeat everything to her. She says you're like an anyway. But I have to say, I never went back in for this glorious meal. I don't know if it ever came, but she apologized profusely to me. She was so sorry. And it was wonderful. Her apology, I have to say, it was humble and it was wonderful. Yeah. And that was a true life experience with Adele. But I would tell you this, any time she wrote me a card or anything, I would always save it. She had an intuitive sensing of things she'd write to people. And oh, this is one funny thing that she was after Marwan Mehta to be a guest at the Sahabas because she knew Baba had said he had been Narina in his last life. And she was after him, and he went to Erich, his uncle, and he says, "Erich," he says, "this woman won't let me alone. She's just after me. She wants me to be a guest or something at this, you know." And Erich says, "Well, maybe you should see what that's about." So he did come. She did get him as a guest. And he never goes to being Norina. He doesn't go there. That was his lifetime then, and he just doesn't go there. So, but anyway, he was a wonderful friend to her. We had outings together. One, we're boating down the waterway with Merwan, running, driving the boat, and Adele's hair blowing. And she was really in seventh heaven. She did love Norina. Yeah. Yeah, very much. She said she was most intuitive. Yeah. Anyway, those are, sorry to usurp the, I don't know if I would even share, but there it is, dear Baba.
Great stories. Thank you, Rosalie. And Diana now, who's been patiently waiting.
Yeah, Jane Baba, those are great stories, Rosalie. I'm afraid I don't have stories, and I also thought of what I wanted to share, and I made notes. And the problem is that once I write something down, it's not up here, so I have to keep referring to my notes. But wait, Adele, wait, who said that? Who said that? Did you say this, Rosalie? That Phyllis said that Adele was drop dead gorgeous?
Yes, yes.
Okay, something, I don't know who said it, but I believe Adele told me that someone told Adele that she had eyes like Baba John. And it may have been either Baba or someone else. Adele, as I understand, Baba told her that her eyes were like Baba John's, and her eyes were these most gorgeous green eyes, sort of green hazel. Very, very beautiful eyes. So I wanted to add that to what you had said. Um, Also, yes, she was very active and we've heard already about how active she was at the center. She would be at Friday or Saturday night meetings. She would be at committee meetings during the weekend morning. She'd come to subcommittee meetings. So she was just very busy. Um, but also, she was sometimes the guest speaker at our Friday or Saturday night meetings. And Adele had so much to share, as you can easily imagine. And she came as prepared as she could be with a pile of papers on her lap, which, as she started talking, kind of scattered on the floor and her mind scattered all over. And from one thing to another. She jumped from one story to another, all of them wonderful, all told with a lot of warmth and love. But it wouldn't be exactly a narrative with one point leading to another. And so at some point, a decision was made that we loved having Adele as a guest speaker, but she needed to be managed. And so Jeff McGuire became the interviewer, and Adele became the interviewee. And she still came with her pile of papers and her stories. But as she veered in one direction or another, Jeff would so gently and kindly redirect her to what she had been talking about. And it was just, it was just charming and wonderful. And I wanted to add that in. Um, Ron, you said something I think really important about how Adele was a friend, and a contemporary, that she felt sisterly. And I think that in addition to all of her work for Baba that we would see, and Betty, you mentioned, I think, that she also reached out to people personally, and she did a lot of work for people. She knew stuff that was going on in people's lives, and she would help them on her own. Um, so not only did she help people, but I think she established friendships, these links of love. Rosalie, you mentioned the cards that she sent. I have so many cards that Adele sent to me, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure a lot of people got cards from Adele. And I pulled out some. I couldn't find everything, but I pulled out some just to maybe share something. Uh, um, Here's one that she sent. Here, it says, "Behold the beauty of God." And inside the card, she writes a message. "Dearest Diana, it is beloved Baba's grace that he has provided a sister." So now she's calling me a sister. Again, just there's no generation gap there. "With a sister friend, which you are to me and other lucky Baba lovers, in Baba's compassionate love, Adele." And she dated it July 11th, 1993. One time she sent me a card from India. We all have seen these cards from remember those cards from a long ago? This was from India. And she said something interesting. She says, "Dear Diana J. Baba, it always feels when in Meher Baba's home that I'm writing from another planet. It is so peaceful and beautiful." And she said something about her departure date and blah, blah, blah. Um, uh, Loving thoughts of you and all Baba LA family. I placed many garlands. J. Baba. So, she's thinking of people wherever she is. I have a birthday card from her. Here's a card, real pretty, and it's on the 88th birthday of the beloved. So she took Baba's birthday as an opportunity to send a card.
Can you show it again, Diana? I'll spotlight it. Look. Oh, wow. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And inside, I don't know what the purpose of this card is. The message that was on the card when she got it, it says, "May the serenity of the season last throughout your year." That sounds kind of Christmassy, doesn't it?
Mm.
And then she gives me, "On the 88th birthday of the beloved, dear Diana in Baba." Then that message, and then a quotation: "The remedy for all ills is to remember me constantly and wholeheartedly. Love and Baba, Adele." And then she sends me an Easter card. But because I'm from a Jewish family, she writes in, "and Passover." Very personalized. You can see that.
And Passover. How cute.
And Passover. So there are the little lambs. Oh, with little lambs. Do you see these are lambs? Not chickens, not chickens, but lambs.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, I mean, that's just so Adele.
Right.
Okay, dearest Meher Babas Diana, the beloved told us he is never born and never dies, which is the true fact for you too. You are a great member of the New Humanities Symphony. You can be counted on for harmony in his beautiful love, Adele W. And it's you know, she would just send, I'm not the only one. Everybody got cards from her. And you know, these links of love are just, it's just so sweet. She seemed to have had this great need to link with things. I have little booklets that she has made, you know, after she was living with Judy. And Judy is very crafty. And so they would make paper, or yeah, make paper and make it into a booklet and then give it and inscribe their names in it. It was very sweet. I couldn't find that because I just pulled out a couple of things. But just one other thing, this was after she was living with Judy, and I was visiting her in Myrtle Beach. This was when she was with Judy and Jeff out in Longs. And we had a nice visit. And as I was leaving, she took my hand and she went to this shelf and she just started to look at all her little things on the shelf. And she pulled out this, everybody knows about these votive candle holders. And she just grabbed it and she gave it to me, you know, very spontaneously, which I put up in my Baba altar. And it's just, she's always giving. And oh, one other thing I wanted to say that I think is, she's giving. She's always distributing and giving things. Who mentioned? I think you, Adele, that you, Betty, about she would, or someone in New York, she would. Oh, I think this was something part of our introduction, the bio, that she would go to meetings. She would be distributing literature about Baba. Well, she would, at our meetings on Friday or Saturday night, very often have a pile of papers that she had photocopied and she would distribute. She was always distributing, it seems. And I found this one, and it was a letter from, or a card, letter or card from Mara that she had photocopied. And it was just, you know, these were written actually, I believe, by Meru, but they were, you know, signed by Mara. And it's this, and then there was a picture of Baba in it. Where do we go?
Wow.
Anyway, you get it. You get the idea. And it's and in this card, it says, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai, dear Adele and all Baba's dear family of and near Los Angeles. Loving greetings come to you from Marizad to wish you, our dear ones in Baba, Merry Meher Mas and happy Babaful New Year. May each new day for us be a gift from our beloved to help us remember and love him more. May the neap tide of his love sweep away all the debris to make this a purer, happier world that opens its heart to welcome the Avatar's divine advent. All your Marizad family remember you and send much love to you and God, Baba's most precious love, Mara. And then under the photo of Baba, it is love, not questioning, that will bring God to you, Meher Baba. So that's just Adele always sharing his love one way or another. Jai Baba.
Great. It was great.
Hey, Ron, I wondered if you'd hold up the photo of Belle. I'll make it bigger. So that she looks like Baba John there. Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those eyes were piercing. They were so beautiful.
Oh, big.
We had a play where she played Baba Chan at the
Oh yeah.
Baba Center. Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't she lie down like under the tree, sort of on her side? Didn't she pose in that pose?
Yeah, she really got into
And
it.
she had the blanket around her shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was taken at, that was taken at Lois Jones's 50th birthday in LA.
Wow, that must have been an occasion.
I wasn't at that, but Lisa was.
Um, Marion, Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you have got something. You
Yeah.
Marion, let's see. Did I get it right? Did you want to share, Marion? She's not hearing me. Oh, she said, "Can I share?" I'll chat.
Say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Marymount caretaking when Judy arrived, and she was a volunteer, a hardworking volunteer. She lived in Marymount for a while, and I don't know whether that was after the LA Sabbath when she met Adele, but she there was that connection, and she would go down to work with Adele and organize Adele. And when Rosalie was saying about the dinner that was there but didn't happen, for it was Paul Hartunian was arranging it, and it just he was working at a restaurant and he was going to bring over all this food after some event, and that was why it was delayed. But anyway, if you ever went to Adele's house in Redondo Beach, and she wanted you to eat, and she brought out just about everything in the cupboards and the refrigerator to put it. And then there's this, and then there's this. She was just so sweet that way. And the other thing about her wanting to be a help to everyone and knowing about things in people's lives and whatnot, when she came to Myrtle Beach, she wanted. We didn't have any kind of committee like that. And so she was after Marshall and myself, the board, you need to have a committee that keeps track of everything and so on. And it just at that point, the circle had started. And so through Adele, the circle initially took a strong role in trying to keep track of people and help people. And she was very much a part of that. And then the last thing, which I always got a kick out of in terms of her relationship with Merwan Mehta, was that he just lives his life in this life, and that's his responsibility, but she would always be wanting to harken back because she had such a close relationship with Norina. And so there was a birthday party for Adele. I don't know whether it was a significant one or not, but it was at Mayor Nusha's house, and it was a big gathering.
90th.
Was it a 90th? Mm-hmm. And so she wants Mayor one to tell his story, and so he gets and to now tell your story. And I think, as I recall, he did just say, well, Adele, it's wake being born into a Baba family, it's just, it's like, fish in the water. You're just there, But I don't really remember exactly but it was very short. And then he said, but Adele, what I would like to know is what it's like to meet Norina in another body.
Do you remember how she responded? Do you remember what she said?
I don't remember. The question was, the question contained the answer.
Yeah.
He was just so fond of him. They go to Brook Green Garden. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
But
he wouldn't go there. He wouldn't go to that. Yeah. I mean, that's what I loved about knowing that someone had such a life with Baba. All of our lives are precious for what they are. It's all you have is your life. With Baba, that's your dance of life. And it's like no one else's dance. It can be a total blunder, tripping all over the place, but that's what you have to offer. Yeah.
But she did. Merwan did become more active. As a matter of fact, he served 4 years on the board of the center after he became an advisor to the circle. And it was actually when I came back from India. I had been over volunteering at Marizad for a while when I came back. And he was the guest speaker at the annual meeting, told his story, and then within a month or so, they asked if he'd be on the board, and he was. It was interesting because Adele had a very close relationship with Myrtle O'Connor. You know, they had acquired the Yukon Dunes in Myrtle Beach, and Myrtle O'Connor was extremely respectful. She visited, spent a lot of time, both when she was at Jeff and Judy's out in Lawns, you know, the concluding months of her life. And Merwan also, because Rabia Martin had had her experience, that inner experience after hearing of Baba through Noreena's talk. She was visiting Elizabeth and Noreena in Yukon Dunes. And it was there that she had this experience where she recognized Baba for who he was and wanted to give the order over to him. So that was where that happened in Yukon Dunes. And when Merwan was on the board, he arranged a meeting with some of the board members to go. And without the detail, the point is that he, through her, he's very much Merwan Mehta. He doesn't, that's the way he is. And he works as a professor in economics, and he goes all over the world in the country consulting businesses.
Oh, you're right.
Or process things to improve their production lines and whatnot. And so so that was what he offered on the board. But at the end of the 4 years, instead of staying on, he said, my kids are teenagers. I want to be with he wanted to be Merwan. So he's involved, but it was through her, that I mean, his respect for her, that he really has been more and more connected. Jai Baba.
Through who? Adele or Myrtle O'Connor?
Through Adele.
Yeah. Okay.
Does have a connection with the Sufis, and the center. And if you're interested, there was in I think it was February 9th of this year. Yeah, February 9th, he gave a short talk, and we were commemorating the beginning of the life message, the life period of Baba on February 6th. And I asked him if he would contribute to it. And he did, and the life period is just about living your life and surrendering it to Baba. And so I said, he was asking, well, what do you want me to talk about? I said, well, just talk about your life. You just live your life, and you're devoted to Baba, and you just live your life, which happened. And so he ended up, he's not interested in, he's a Baba lover, but he isn't interested in spiritual. He's kind of like on a vacation, is the way I say it. So he's into what do they call it? An intelligent design versus evolution and these science kind of things. And so it's an interesting talk from that perspective. But, hey, Baba.
Jonathan. Hey, Karen waited for a turn. Here you are, Karen. You are muted. Karen's new with her iPad, so give her a little grace. It's got to be there somewhere. I don't think any of us can do it.
There it is. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Oh, good. All right. So when Adele passed, Karina Page was going through all her things. Karina was always so helpful to Adele and to many others. And she sent me a few mementos of Adele. And one is this little birthday book. And Adele put, it has little, like for each day, it has little poems. And I see here on January 16th, It says birthday twins, actually triplets, Virginia Rudd, Rosalie Dunphy Bobbas, and Steve Barry. And she has a lot of the LA group in here, family, friends, Baba people from all over. And it's just this darling little book.
We're,
Long
we're not seeing the
birthday.
book. We're not now. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. Could you open it? Could we?
Yeah, I'll put the page that has
She got Rosalie's birthday wrong. Rosalie's in June.
did. When is Rosalie's birthday?
It's probably the way it's June 16th because Virginia Rudd had the same birthday.
Yeah, so she
Yeah,
got it right.
yeah.
Right here. June
Yeah.
16th.
16th. Yeah.
Karen, the camera is someplace else. You're not showing it to us.
Oh, I think I can see it now.
Yeah,
Much
better.
better.
It is.
Okay,
Oh,
so Virginia Rudd, Rosalie Dumpies, and
Very.
Steve Barry. And
Yeah.
so like my daughter is in here, Danny McGuire, like there's so many people that we all know. And that was Adele. I mean, she just cared about each person.
Yeah.
right.
She would call me. I had an illness in the late 90s. She called me every week to see how I was. She stayed with us on occasion and told wonderful stories. And she would bring, like Donna, she would bring lots of papers and things to read. We visited her. I think we might have been driving down to San Diego or someplace, but we drove down and stayed in her apartment, her little house. And I always remember that she had a little trampoline. Like here she was jumping up and down on her trampoline. We were at the Maher Center on her 90th birthday, and we took her out to dinner beforehand with a little group. And then it was so much fun because she was being honored on her 90th birthday, and Billy Goodrum, who was very close with her, was there. And they started to play Gaje Chalo. And suddenly there's a conga line, and Adele is in the front. So we're all singing Gaje Chalo. Yeah. And that one. And Adele is leading us. And here she is, 90 years old, so strong. You know, I have another memory when, and this is my last that I'm going to share because there's so many. But we were walking with her, Alan and I were walking with her from Baba's house over to Dilruba. And we stopped, she had us stop at Elizabeth's little memorial off to the side. But the most amazing thing is, like, we would want to hold her hand to help her. And she said, no, no, no. We have to be independent. I have to be strong. And she was. And that really, to me, exemplifies her. And I'm going to end with a little paragraph from the obituary I have here on Adele, because I think it really speaks to who she was. Adele's love and humor touched the lives of countless people throughout the world. Her life modeled what it means to love and serve God, and had a profound effect on making Avatar Meher Baba's message accessible to those about her. She will be missed. Jai Baba.
Oh, that's great, Karen. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, Indy. I remember often I would grab her elbow and no, I
Uh-huh.
want no part of that.
That's right.
Yeah, Karen, we've noticed with your iPad that we keep wanting to see your face and
I think you see my chin. Like, my computer is out, just so you all know. My computer is being serviced. I'll get it back next week. So I'm learning to use the iPad and the phone.
Karen. Diana, let's see.
I was just, when you mentioned, Karen, about her strength, I was remembering she was physically really in good shape. She was strong. And I remember in LA, we used to have camping parties out at Joshua Tree. And I remember her coming out once into Joshua Tree. We went on this long hike one day. She was there tramping along. Oh, now I'm just remembering something. We would see snakes, and uh, so uh, we saw a snake, and I think she was backing up. Somehow we came to a turn in the path, and she was backing up, and you know, I don't know, maybe she practically stepped on it and someone pulled her away. And when we came back, she was wondering if it had expired or something. You know, she didn't just say, "Is it dead?" It was kind of funny. But also another time when we were out in the desert, there was some gully and people were passing from one side to the other on this log. I didn't dare walk across that log. I didn't trust myself. One of the people, one of the men who was with us, took her by the hand and she walked across on that log with him guiding her. I was so impressed because of her faith in him. She trusted him and she trusted herself to be strong and balanced and cross on that log. Wow. What a sport. She was such a sport.
Bobby.
You know, somehow I can't find the raising of your hand on my iPad. I've looked everywhere. So, but talking about her courage, you know, there was a song that she sang at the Samadhi for Baba that she loved, "You're My Everything." And so she used to come with, Judy used to bring her here for Bauji's chats. We'd come here. And so Bauji had asked her to sing that song on the chat. And she was like, I'm not, you know, like she's not a singer. She's a little reluctant, but man, she did it. I come through on a little keyboard and she sang it and did a great job. And she also sang it at the center. And, you know, one, I don't know, Friday or Saturday night. So she was really courageous because she, you know, tried things that's not her thing. That was not her thing. But you know, it's funny in that song, "You're My Everything," you're the song I sing and you're the book I read. And I had a connection with her with those two things. You know, she was very supportive of musicians and supportive of my music. And so we had that connection and her singing that song and also books. She, I don't know if this was mentioned, but she had a project of putting Baba books in libraries all over. And so she immediately hooked up with, because I'm a retired librarian, so she hooked up with me and we, in our local libraries to put Baba books here. You know, the library I was working in North Myrtle Beach. And so anyway, and Chapin Library. So she did that. She was very, very dedicated. And another thing about books that she once told me is that she sent books over to India to mysteries and other types of books to be read to Baba. So that's one of the things, I don't know if many people knew about that, but she did. She was so active. It's unbelievable how much she did. And I also was very touched by the fact she always remembered birthdays, you know, with cards. So that's her secret, that book. That's
If anybody wants to know their birthday, let me know if it's in the book.
You know, it was interesting. She was so active that I think Baba put her out of town. He put her in long distance out of town because she was right here in the community active. You know, I mean, contacting people and always at the center or whatever, and commenting, where are the pictures of Baba at the center? There were a lot of paintings. He said, where are the photographs? Where are they? I mean, she was like feisty. She had her own Baba card printed up with the information about the center. I mean, she was like feisty go-getter.
Karen, when you read that from the obituary, about sharing. The one thing that particularly, there are a lot of old bobblers that did this, but Bill LePage and Adele strike me particular. She would not miss an opportunity. She was out having lunch or whatever, to the waitress, to whoever. So whoever they met, they want to talk about Baba. And the amazing thing is, it's so genuine, that sharing, that it invariably, people would just want to do it. Rosalie has that way too. They would listen, and she would touch their heart.
Yeah, I was just remembering that there was a program at the library, and I don't know whether it was a musician or a speaker, and she was in the audience, and she just loved this person. She was just taken by this person, so she said, "Oh, I must go up to meet him." And then she gave him a Baba card and talked to him about. But she was actively, she was so interested in everything because she would come to a lot of programs. She's just interested in life.
Yeah.
She had a childlike quality of enthusiasm, and she'd just do things, and it was very childlike. I remember being with her. My grandmother had just passed, and we went to see, I think, Pinocchio together. She was just, and she had a wonderful, like, childlike laugh if something tickled her, like, just kind of like a bell ringing or something. Just wow. And you couldn't really tell her age, because she was kind of effervescent. And she used to like me to give her like body work, my style, and I would just sweep over, and I tell you, she went so surrendered to it, like it was extraordinary, giving over, that she just loved it. And she'd say, "I must pay you," and I don't think she ever did, but it was such a gift to see someone just surrender to something. It was, and also, if she was called in the morning, she was never grouchy on the phone. She was, it was delightful to know that someone would come out of sleep and just be in a good mood, like ready to whatever's there. She had certain qualities that were undeniable.
That childlike quality, I remember when she was out with Ed, in the latter months of her life, at Jeff and Judy's. Wendy Haynes Connor came out, and the rabbit that she has, and when the puppet, hand puppet, and she, oh boy, the communication between the two of them, and she just totally got lost in that endearing experience Adele did, and just, it was very sweet.
Ron, you've had a hit.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people, I'm pretty sure I have this right. When we talk about Adele's courage, that was an exceptional quality. It is in anybody. Courage. I once read courage being the father of all virtues. Anyhow, one example of that, and I'm pretty sure this is true, she was one of the several people that Baba posed the idea of obedience to him being walking naked in Ahmednagar. And I believe she says she was prepared.
Any
That's kind of
community,
her portrait, I think, being able to communicate with total strangers about Baba. Her
Mm-hmm.
conviction was so
Mm-hmm.
pure and thorough. Baba was just
Mm-hmm.
in her and certain. There was, I mean, wasn't it? People knew she believed in that she was telling the truth, at least from her point of view, at the very least.
I think she was of Russian descent. Is that
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Somehow or other. Yeah.
I thought she was from a Russian Jewish
Russian
family.
Jewish.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but she
So
converted at a young age, didn't she convert to
to
Christianity?
to converted to
Christianity?
Christianity.
I think so.
Mhm. Bobby, I was wondering if you'd be comfortable enough to sing that song. You are my putting you on the spot. Oopsie, you're muted, Bobby. Uh,
You know, I was hoping, but I could
Okay.
just bear with me because I'll try.
oh, awesome.
I
Can you
guess I'll be courageous like Adele without any mute and without the
That's
music
so
in
good.
front of
That
me.
little
I'll
things
see
like
if I
that
can
make me happy.
remember it, but with her in her spirit, right? Uh-oh. Got to turn on the keyboard first. You're my everything underneath the sun. You're my everything rolled up into one. You're my only dream, my only real reality. You're my idea of a perfect personality. You're my everything, everything I need. You're the song I sing and the book I read. You're way beyond belief, and just to make it brief, you're my winter, summer, spring, my everything. I'm going to do a little noodling here. You're my everything, everything I need. You're the song I sing and the book I read. You're way beyond belief, and just to make it brief, you're my winter, summer, spring, my everything.
Wow.
You know, I fell in love with that song without the words. The Eddie Duchin story. That song was played in that. I just fell in love with it in that movie. You know, it's like from the 40s or something, but so such a beautiful melody, let
Yeah,
alone now the words. They're so Baba.
Wow, you we're yeah, without a doubt, boy, Bobby, you really you got it, gal.
Thank you.
Oh, what a nice meeting this has been. Golly. Um, any more? Any last anythings from anybody? Whoop. Um, well, I think I'll wind it up. I'll say the beloved Ralph. No, did you know Adele?
Just a tiny bit. Yeah. She knew me when she saw me, and she usually, I'd last for about short paragraph.
And then who, then what? She was
Oh,
talking.
she would just addle me. She'd say something personal. And
Yeah.
I said, well, that's crazy. And yet I knew that it wasn't crazy. I mean, but it took me off guard. I wouldn't be able to speak. I could just stand there with my mouth agape. And she was happy. And I remember then in the barn, and Val was there, and she was with, I think she was with Judy that day. She was with somebody. She was with the whole crowd, really. And everyone was seeing the program was ended, and Val, everyone went out to see Val into the car that he was being chauffeured in. And I don't know what possessed me. Val got in the car, closed the door, and I was at the back of the car, and I thought, I think I'll see how good the shocks are on this car. I don't know what that stupid idea. I started bouncing the car up and down, and it was going like that, going like that. And Adele was standing there outside Val's window, and she starts seeing the car go back and forth. She says, she got all upset. Who's doing that? What fool is doing that? Don't do that. And I said, why am I doing? I shouldn't do that.
Oh, it's
And
just,
Just
what do
remembered something
you
else.
think you
And-
think you're
Yeah.
what is it, swinging Krishna, but rocking, was it that someone that push Krishna in the swing or something?
oh, well, kind of like that. Yeah.
You made a comment. I remember the story. Now I don't remember the story of Krishna. Something to do with being rocked or in
Mhm.
a swing like that. And
Like,
my other contact was once being at Pine Lodge when Fred Ella lived there, and Adele was in. And they were playing the Rennerfelds liked pot roast and lots of vegetables. And Adele, they were all in the kitchen fixing that lunch and asked me to, somehow I ended up, while I was volunteer, I don't know what I was doing. I was probably coming in with the laundry or something. Because I used to do the center laundry. I'd go to the laundromat and do the sheets and not the sheets, the towels, pillowcases, and washcloths, and the kitchen linens, all of that. Wash, fold them, and put them back in their place in the linen room. And they invited me to stay for lunch. I thought I shouldn't, but I did. I remember even Fred there. When Fred was like, you wouldn't have even known he was there. He was unusually quiet and sat and had lunch. And it was there wasn't any real discussion of Bob or anything. It was, it was an event and almost a non-event the way it passed.
Well, pretty special company there. Wow.
Yeah, it was. They were just all being there. I mean, Adele wasn't giving a talk or anything. She was just participating and helping get the meal on the table and make it happen. It was very nice. Yeah.
When when Adele came to LA, she had a police escort.
Huh?
I think, Baba just wanted her here. She was not the best driver. I don't know if she was the worst, but I know Adele, Phyllis would not get in the car with her if she was driving. So you know, and I thought, wow. So I would always volunteer to drive if I went someplace with Adele. Yeah, but that
What do you mean a police escort?
there were police.
Wasn't it because she was driving erratically?
Yeah, I think the way she was driving, they caught notice, and I guess they had like a respect for her somehow, and
Wow.
they just helped her come into the city.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Bobby, I see you. Listen. Oh,
I wish I had that little hand in here so I don't have to keep the so I wouldn't seem like like in a classroom. I want to talk. Now, I just remembered one thing about Adele and Bougie, and that he called her Auntie Adele. And one time I remember him saying, she's older than me and she puts me to shame because she was,
Ah,
because he was really slowed down by all his illnesses and she was all, years older than him and so energetic.
but he pronounced her name Adele. Adele.
Oh, excuse me.
I'll mute you. Oh, well, no. Okay. Well, gotta wait for Bobby to come back. Say goodbye.
It's good. It's good to hear all these things from people. Yeah, I know it. But, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Judy too, because she wouldn't say it, but it's interesting how that service thing she is the backbone of the circle service. She's very involved. She volunteers with the the Sufis have a different area of Myrtle Beach, a poor community they look after, and they give birthday cakes to the kids whenever it's their birthday. And Judy and Jeff, deliver them she's doing all sorts of stuff there. She's doing all sorts of stuff in the circle. And of course, she's got a green thumb, so they've got quite a farm. And so Jeff raises chickens, so they have a very full life.
Wow.
Very involved in the community. Jeff delivers eggs. All during this egg thing, you still buy Jeff's eggs. And he brings them to the door, no less.
I have a memory of Judy meeting Adele at the Sahabas and telling her, I will take care of you till the day you die.
Yeah,
now,
that's right.
Yeah. It's a strong memory. I thought, wow, what a connection.
At Sahabas?
At the LA Sahabas.
LA Sahabas way back then?
Way back then. I remember that because she was at Marymount, and that's what she told her.
Yeah.
Just said, Rosalie, I took off on a side trip there. Who would take care of who until they passed?
Judy Mangold
went up to Adele at the LA Sahabas.
Told her that.
I was not there, but I heard it and I went, wow, I will take care of you to the day you die.
That came to pass. My gosh, that had to be in the late 80s. I mean, it did, yeah.
It was in, wait a second, when did we get to? No, it would have been the late 90s, actually, because Judy came to Marymount in 97. And initially she was going down and helping Adele to organize all those Baba materials in her in her place,
Yeah, that fell to Karina Page, didn't it?
Yeah, Karina was, we haven't said a lot about Karina, but Karina came out regularly. I mean, she really was her long-term guardian, and kind of when she was wrapping up the last parts of her life, Karina was in charge of that.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear all these different facets. Many faceted woman in her life. Yeah, yeah. Oh, good, Bobby. We're still here. We wanted you to come back before we say goodbye. Oh, wow. I listen afterwards. Where are you, on an iPad or what, that you're not finding things? I'll give you a call. Maybe I can talk you through.
Are you asking me about that?
Yeah.
I need instructions on how to raise my hand.
Right.
If you could help me out, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah.
That can be found under React. You have React.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's under there.
hmm.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a call. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Jay,
Thank you.
Baba.
Thank you, Betty. Jay Bob.
Hey, Baba.
Thanks, Betty.
Thank you.
What fun. It's been really a great
Yeah.
ride. Thanks. Oh, all right. Beloved God, help us all to love you
Love you more.
more and
More and more.
and
Still yet more. Until we become worthy of union with you.
and help us all
To hold fast to Baba's Daman until the ever.
Very end.
and Dar Meher Baba keep
Hey, Baba.
Baba. All right, then off we go.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.